Welcome to Wombmates, a podcast where we talk openly and honestly about the emotional realities of motherhood. We're your hosts, Lela
and Lily.
And today is part 2 of our Enneagram series as a parent. And so if you haven't watched part 1, please go back and watch that because we talk a lot about what the Enneagram is and why we're doing this and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're not going to go through that again.
Yeah, so we
talked about
to do that.
Types 1 through 4.
Yes.
In the last episode.
So today we'll talk about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. I feel so excited to be doing this. I've been really looking forward to recording this. I just love talking about the Enneagram.
Yeah.
We are Enneagram girlies.
Enneagram nerds.
Enneagram nerds.
Yeah, something about it is just really fun and interesting to me. And I think it also is because it just resonates with so many people. And I think that's like, it's just kind of like whimsical. I feel like it's a little bit magical. I'm just like, what is going on here?
It is in the fact that it's so mysterious makes it feel magical, and it's very in depth. That's what I like about it. Like, you can just keep going. There's so much to talk about. That's why we had to do 2 parts. All right, let's just jump right in here to type 5. I love me a 5. They're called the investigators. So 5's core motivation is to feel capable, prepared, informed, and self-sufficient. Their basic fear is being overwhelmed, helpless, incompetent, or depleted. They're very conscious of their energies and how they exert it. Their basic desire is to understand the world and conserve their energy and their resources. So some famous 5s. Let's see.
Oh,
that's okay. I have it up. I was prepared.
Okay.
Unlike somebody. Just kidding.
Somebody's prepared here.
Glad somebody is. Stephen King, Tim Burton, Vincent van Gogh is suspected to be a 5. Jane Austen, Agatha Christie, some great authors. Bill Gates. So they're very cerebral.
Yes. 5s are very heady.
Yes. They are very heady.
In your head.
Is that a word?
It is.
I mean,
word
not
to me. Something that I think about with 5s a lot is that they think and then they feel. They think about their feelings. I think I'm wording that right.
That makes sense.
Everything is kind of filtered through their thoughts.
Yeah.
Their feelings are filtered through their thoughts.
Very logical.
They're really like
things.
Intellectual, logical.
And something about 5s is that they're very in their head, so they're not very connected to their bodies. So something really good for 5s that's very grounding is to do physical activity, to just stay grounded, because they can become consumed with their thoughts. And sometimes that gets very overwhelming. So let's talk about strengths as a 5 parent. 5s are very thoughtful and observant. They make really good researchers. They can see how different things work. They're very into data. So I think they are very good at observing their kids and see what makes them tick and what helps them and what hurts them. They're very calm in emergencies. They're intellectually curious. They respect children's independence because they're very independent. 5s are. They value knowledge and understanding, and they're very highly intentional and reflective. Some pitfalls and challenge areas that 5s have as parents: they might withdraw during overwhelm. They're emotionally detached. They often get overstimulated from constant demands, which as a parent, demands are constant.
Yes.
They need excessive solitude. Excessive? That probably means to a point where they're doing it because it's a coping mechanism rather than
something they actually need.
Yeah. They have difficulty expressing their emotions openly. They often retreat instead of engaging, and they treat connection and autonomy like competing needs. I don't know if this has to do with the triads, but there's types that run towards things. There's types that run away, and there's... Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Confrontation?
Remember.
Okay, maybe it'll come back to me. I guess we can talk about the vices and virtues. We've been doing that for each type. So each type has a vice and a virtue. Something that holds them back and something that they should strive for. The vice for a 5 is avarice, and their virtue is non-attachment. Avarice means not greed, but they're hoarding of their resources, like of their knowledge, of their time. Yeah, they like to keep things to themselves.
That makes them feel safe to be. They feel like they're protecting themselves by protecting their energy and their space and their knowledge, and they're like hoarding. Yeah, like hoarding knowledge too. I like that you brought that up because that's a big part of it. It's like you're hoarding your energy, also hoarding knowledge. Like they like
and your time
and time. They like, which is the solitude part. They like to do a lot of research on things and like learn about things, but the other side of that is like that might lead them away from action or doing. They're very thinking and not as much action. I think a lot of times if they're not as healthy, they can fall into that pattern.
That is their it's a common pattern for 5s. So they have this fear that interacting too much with people will be too stressful or catastrophic to them or overwhelming. That'll really affect their energies. So do you think that all 5s are introverted? Or do you think that's a stereotype?
I feel like all 5s are not introverted, but I'm sure that is skewed that way.
Yeah.
But
I'm just curious, just had a thought.
Yeah, because that is kind of what introverts do, is that's how they get energy, is from being alone. So if they feel like that's expending energy, they're going to hoard their alone time. So it makes sense in that sense. But that's something to think about. And because we were talking about the triads and all the other, each type, the 5 is in the head triad, or the thinking triad, and their core unconscious emotion is fear.
Yes.
What do you think that looks like in a 5?
Fear?
Their core motivating feeling, unconscious motivating feeling is fear.
I think because they're afraid that if they let other people in, that they're being vulnerable and that people will see that they're not competent, because their basic desire is to be seen as competent and knowledgeable. And I think if they don't let anyone else in, then they won't ever see that
it might reveal that they're incompetent and they actually don't know things.
And they don't like to feel depleted or overwhelmed. So that's the other side of it, or helpless. They are independent, so they want to feel that they can handle everything themselves.
So we are both 5 wings, so we have strong 5 influence. Do you feel that when you're parenting? Like, how do you notice your 5 come up as a parent?
I do feel like I have excessive, when I read the excessive part, needing excessive solitude, I relate to that, because I often feel like I need too much, but that's where I'm like, what's the line of how much solitude do I need versus I just want to be comfortable?
Yeah. Or feel like you're doing it out of like fear.
Yeah.
Yes, like that you're not going to have enough within you to handle things if you don't get your alone time.
I'm always thinking about, like we talked about the Sims bar thing. I'm always like, am I going to have enough energy to handle tomorrow or bedtime tonight? I'm worried that I'm going to feel dysregulated or get overwhelmed and lash out and then feel guilty. I don't know. But I do feel that I have a lot of 5 traits.
Yeah. I do think that's part of work or growth for 5s, is to like trust themselves and their energy level. Like they can handle things that I don't know if that's true or not. That was just my thought.
Yeah.
But like just having more trust in your energy.
I like that.
That you'll be fine and okay.
It's
good to check in on yourself, but yeah, like you said, when is it excessive? Where's the line?
Yeah. Where's the line where my husband is like, can you stop dumping things on me? Speaking of what being a 5 parent is like, being a parent as a 5 can trigger a lot of things, activate a lot of things. Constantly being interrupted and emotional demands, sensory overload, lack of privacy, lack of autonomy. So 5s might love being a parent, but it also feels, I think, more than any other type, might feel very energy depleting for 5s because they've grown up learning how to conserve their energy and protecting their space. And you don't really have much space when you're a parent. You don't have much of your own, as much autonomy as you did before.
Like we talked about before, each Enneagram type is a big part of it is that's your way of like learning to cope. So like if you've learned to cope with your childhood by retreating and being like not expending energy, that is going to be a huge shift. Because you can't just like go to your room and close the door.
Run away.
Like it's gonna be, you're gonna be in it.
Yeah.
In the energy, expending way more energy than maybe you're used to.
Yeah. So some things that fives might do to cope is withdraw or shut down, intellectualize things, and feel overstimulated. So motherhood or fatherhood threatens their autonomy, their solitude, and their boundaries that they have learned.
Fives have pretty bold. When I think about a line, like a boundary line, they have a bold font on their boundary line.
They're good at boundaries. Yeah.
They're very good at boundaries. Like, no, I need to go to bed now.
Yeah.
I need to go be alone.
That's a good thing.
Most of the time, I've noticed.
Yeah.
They have good boundaries with things.
I think that's a good skill to have, because some types have a harder time, just like with anything, have a harder time setting boundaries. But we can all learn from each other, and we can learn how to set boundaries from fives.
Yes.
They're good at that.
And I think that
also, if you need to set a boundary and in an email or a text, go to your five friend and ask them, can you help me write this text or email? Because I have done that with my five friend, and it has been very helpful.
They're very wise about things like that.
Yeah.
Fives are just wise in general. They're very wise people.
And they're really funny. Every five I know is hilarious. I love it.
Fives they have this dry humor that's just funny.
Yeah. They're very witty.
And
just the way they think.
I think another thing that fives are good at, I think, as parents, is the boundary thing. Because I feel like their boundaries, they also have very strong boundaries between like their emotions and what they do with them. So they might not get as, like, if your kid's throwing a tantrum or upset, they can like disconnect easier, I feel like, from that and just do what they need to do. Like, this is what works, so we're going to do this. I can see how fives would be. It might be a little easier for them to do that than maybe like
it's probably easier for them than some types to set boundaries with their kids because they're not as, I guess, emotionally connected or attached to I don't know. I'm just speculating. That seems like that might be true. Okay, let's talk about where fives go in stress. They go to the low side of a type 7. So they are mentally scattered. They become very overstimulated and impulsive, unable to focus, and escapist. Their brain just goes haywire, become very dysregulated. In growth, they go to the high side of type 8. They become embodied. They're more like in touch with their body and grounded, engaged and decisive, and more action oriented. So they start taking action. Let's talk about those wings. We were talking about the 4-wing 5, 5-wing 4 combo.
Yes.
So
the contradiction that is the 4-wing 5, 5-wing 4.
That is a difficult type to be, because 4s are very emotional and 5s are very detached from their emotions. So it's almost like if you're 5-wing 4, 4-wing 5, it might feel like your head and your heart are in constant battle because you're intellectualizing your feelings a lot.
Yeah.
So the 5-wing 4 is called the iconoclast. They're emotionally deep but private. They're creative and intellectual and highly introspective. And 5-wing 6 is called the observer. They are more research heavy. They're more anxious and practical. And they have more focus on safety, especially as a parent, like safety focused parenting. So I guess the main difference between those is that, like we said, you might have one stronger wing, but you have all the 9 types in you, but
access to both.
You have access to both of those wings, but one of them you might find comes out more. Maybe you feel more of a creative, introspective type over a research heavy and practical.
Yes.
But in some instances, you might feel like you need to bring out the practical side of you. And it's easy for you to kind of switch gears for the most part. So the healing journey of a 5, what does that look like? We did talk about their virtue is non-attachment. I think something that's really good for 5s, like I said, to practice is grounding themselves in their body.
What do you mean the virtue is non-attachment? I don't really remember that much about the virtue and vice of a 5.
Well, this that I'm reading on EnneagramExplained.com is talking about that they can loosen the grip of feeling attached to their energy, I guess. Like it's not as much of a part of them. It's not attached to their happiness. Their energy is not attached to happiness. I don't know if that makes sense. That's just what came to my mind. But non-attachment will cause 5 to be more comfortable with detaching from the need to withhold their resources, energy, and time. So they become more generous because they're not as attached. Yeah. So it's kind of like with money. If you think money is like an energy, basically. If you are like so attached to your money, you're not going to want to give it to someone in need as much as if you were just like, this is just an energy and this person needs food and I have plenty. Like I am fine. So I'm going to help this person.
And
so that's kind of like how their energy is.
That also goes along with like vulnerability, that 5s can be not as trusting because they are very protective of their inner world and their self. And so it's like hard for them to be vulnerable with people or to share how they're really feeling. One, because maybe it's just uncomfortable to do that. But two, maybe they don't even really know how they're feeling because they're detached from it a lot of the time. So I think that could be part of growth, just like with a 3, is to like be vulnerable with people and to like really identify feelings and let yourself feel it instead of thinking your way out of it or thinking about the feeling. Like you're just... feeling is having a feeling, and feelings are how we connect with people and how we build relationships. Like vulnerability is how we connect and build relationships.
Yeah, and you are taking a risk when you're vulnerable. So it's very brave to be vulnerable, and it's really hard to do that. But I like that. Another thing that 5s can think about to grow is that you don't need a retreat to survive. In fact, I think the opposite is true. We need to be in connection with other people to survive and to feel peaceful and share and not hold everything in. But 5s do need alone time. That's true. But if they use it as their vice or their coping mechanism when they really need to be reaching out, that's something for them to determine. Am I doing this because I'm fearful? Or am I doing this because I need it? Yeah. That can be hard to decipher, but that's something for 5s to think about.
And here's some interesting, I like these little phrases on this website. I found enneagramanytime.com about 5s, the work 5s can do. Non-attachment accepts desire as a natural part of being human, but does not become enslaved by it. That's a good thing for them to remember. Trust that engagement with the world doesn't require the sacrifice of self. You can engage in the world and not sacrifice yourself in that process. That's a good thing for them to remember too. Giving doesn't necessarily lead to emptiness, and needing doesn't equate to weakness. And the 5 still honors their need for solitude, still protects their rich inner world, but without the anxious guarding. So I think that's what you were saying. It's like, do I need this or am I doing this out of like fear? Right. Like you can still need solitude and enjoy it, but is the motivation anxiety or fear, or is it because you're just honoring that part of you, that need you have?
Yeah, I love that. I do want to say before we move on is that 5s are really good friends and loyal. When they have a good friend, they can share their vulnerability with them. And I've noticed that 5s are a very nice presence to be around because I don't know. Why do you think that? I'm just thinking about all the 5s I know. They're so just like fun to be around, and they're so like, they also make you feel seen.
That's my theory.
And they're very loyal to their close friends.
My theory is because if you do get in with a 5, which is hard to do, I think sometimes, then they really got to trust you. So you feel like the sense of trust with them. And then also they're very observant people. Like that's one of the titles for them is the observer. So I feel like they remember things about you. That's why you feel seen with the 5, I think. And they can deflect off themselves onto you. So maybe that feels good. I don't know. Like... Oh, you're noticing me. That's nice.
All right, 5s. Love them. Let's move to type 6.
Wait, reflection question.
Oh, wait, we didn't give the 5 homework.
Yeah, homework and reflection for 5. I think similar to 3, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
With someone you trust and knowing if you know it's a safe place to do so. I think that's
I was also going to say
body stuff.
I like that homework, and that they should have that homework, but also have a second one is to go and do something physical.
Yeah,
go on a bike ride.
I was going to say that.
Oh, sorry. I just read your mind.
If you will let me finish. Just kidding.
Continue. That's all.
Yeah. Doing body-based things. Okay, and the reflection question. What happens when you stop treating your needs for connection and rest as competing needs? What if those were just different things? You can connect with someone and you can maintain your sense of self and your energy at the same time. Riddle me this. Practice that. Okay. Type 6. Type 6 is the loyalist. The 6's core motivation is to create safety, security, certainty, and support. Their basic fear is to be unsafe, being unsupported, being abandoned, or being unprepared. Their basic desire is to feel secure, guided, and protected. Famous 6's might be Tom Hanks, Jennifer Aniston, Stephen Colbert, Woody Allen, Hermione Granger. Didn't they say she was a...
This is all speculation. I've seen the same people in like multiple...
I can see that, I guess.
This one says Ron Weasley.
Oh. Woody. I feel like that's a great... That's
Woody's
a great 6 example.
Woody's a good 6 example, yeah.
Woody from Toy Story.
I've been watching Toy Story with Romy, but only the beginning where Woody is like... Buzz came in, and basically he's not important anymore. So I'm just watching the part where Woody is just angry, and I'm like, I just want to continue and see more of Woody and see his growth arc. But Romy always wants to just like watch the beginning.
What a good example of a 6, though, because they are very like loyal to their friends.
Woody's
like,
very loyal to all his toy friends.
All that time trying to save his toy friends. He does a lot. He goes through a lot of hoops for that.
Ben Wyatt, Sam Wise.
Oh,
those are good characters.
I love that. So 6's are great parents, or they can be great parents because they're very loyal.
Every type can be a bad parent.
Yeah, exactly.
And every type can be a good parent.
A healthy 6 can be a great parent because they're pretty loyal and dependable. They're highly protective. They're very practical and prepared. I always think of 6's as like the like parent friend, where they have a bag with like...
They always have some.
Oh, here... I need a very specific type of cough drop for this cough.
I have that in my purse. A sugar-free lemon honey suckled thyme cough drop.
And then they pull out a whole tray of multiple cough drop options and say, I have that one right here. Yeah, they're very prepared. They think about every possible scenario and prepare for it.
Yeah.
So that's why they can feel very safe to be around, because you feel very protected by them. They're community oriented. They are thoughtful about risks and safety, and they are deeply committed to their family. Yeah, 6's are great parents. Our dad is a 6, and
yeah, he's definitely a 6, and he's a good one.
You just feel very like protected and safe around 6. Like, I don't have to think when I'm around you, which is not a good thing, because you don't want to always put that expectation on them. But
the story of how he had tampons in his fanny pack when
it's like, why do you have those?
When we went to Disney or something, I don't know. We were on some kind of vacation. It's like, that's such a 6 dad.
We probably ended up needing it. So
it's like, good thing I bought these. You guys didn't think about this, but I did.
Yeah, they're like worst case scenario people. First thing they look for, like when they walk on a plane, is emergency exits. They're always like thinking about, like, what can go wrong? What can we do?
In the head tread as well.
Yeah, but an interesting thing about 6's is like, yes, their core, unconscious motivating feeling is fear, but they don't feel that in an emergency. Like when there's an emergency, they are on top of it because they're very level-headed.
Yeah,
they're very level-headed. They're very like good in emergencies because they have thought through things. They feel prepared.
So if you're ever in a crisis, you want a 6 to be with you. So plan for that if you can. So 6's are probably really good to be around when you just have a baby. Not that having a baby is a crisis, but it's you just need someone that's going to help you be prepared and be calm.
They think through, they can do a lot of the like figuring out
they can do a lot of the practical things for you. And
that's true.
Also they're really good, loyal friends. So they're good to just talk to.
Yeah.
About that too.
Very true. I also think 6's are like very funny. Every 6 I know.
I was going to say
like
that too.
Also very one of the funniest people that I know. Okay, pitfalls and challenge areas.
Is a 6, and she is the funniest person I know.
Yeah, she's
for sure.
Hilarious.
So
some challenge areas that a 6 might have, as parenting, but just in general, anxiety and catastrophizing. Their preparedness might go a little too far. They might catastrophize the worst case scenarios. They may overthink decisions. They can be hypervigilant, have a hard time trusting themselves. They may seek reassurance. Their parenting tendencies may be fear-based, and their nervous system can get exhausted very easily because they're constantly scanning for threats. And that's pretty draining. So when you become a parent as a 6, I think it can really activate a lot of those like worst case scenario things, a lot of like anxieties. They just want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And that can be a strength, but it also really can be
just like the 5s,
challenge.
they need alone time. That can be a good thing to have boundaries and to need alone time. But it also, if you use it as a same thing, if you use it as a coping mechanism when you really need to be, like for a 6, staying calm and accepting sometimes that you don't need to be thinking about every possible outcome because it's just making you more stressed, and just accept the moment. That could be taken too far too.
Yeah. And
it's a strength, but also you have to be aware of how far it's going.
Exactly. I think every type has something like that has a flip side to it.
Yeah.
And something that I think about with 6s as well is that they're always kind of like looking outside of themselves for answers because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust that they're going to do the right thing, or not do the right thing, but they don't really trust their own decisions sometimes. So that can be very challenging as a parent with all the information overload thing that we talk about a lot. Because if you're like looking outside of yourself for answers all the time and there's too much information and too many conflicting ideas, it's going to feel more overwhelming to you. So I think part of the work with a 6 is to trust yourself and to start looking for your own answers and not seek external reassurances.
We should also talk about the counter type.
I was going to say that too.
And there's 2 types of type 6s. And I'm trying to find it because I don't remember what it's called. Phobic and counterphobic.
Yes, and one of them...
So we could talk about those 2 types of things. The counter type 6 and then the counterphobic and phobic 6.
Can you say the exact names of them? What's the first name? There's a lot of words in there.
Lots of phobics and counters.
What was that thing called?
The counter type of a 6. Let's just talk about that first. Is a sexual type because each...
So the counter type is doesn't look like a 6. Like you wouldn't pinpoint them as a 6.
Like a 4 and a 6 have counter types.
Yes. So the counter type of a 6 runs towards their fear. They tend to they can do dangerous things. They might be like more adrenaline junkie people. But
yeah. So the common view of a 6, or what everyone kind of thinks about the 6 as in the Enneagram world, is they approach things with caution and they're anxious. But counter type 6, the sexual 6, confronts their fears head on with aggression and strength. So that makes them kind of not seem like a 6 at first. So they adopt the motto, the best defense is good offense.
Their fear is often unconscious. Like they're doing it to like deny and cope with their fear.
Yeah, so that's a fear response for them.
Yeah.
Except they don't do it by running away from something or being cautious about something. They do it as an aggressive posturing because that's how they're masking their anxiety. Because they're out of touch with their own vulnerability. So they're kind of like combative, and often because of that misidentified as type 8s, which are pretty much like that. They just run at things head on. Oh.
And just like we've been saying about every single type, like, this could be helpful and not helpful at the same time. Because if you're like, if you're doing it to deny your fear, you're never going to be able to address that if it's an unconscious thing. So it's kind of like they're overcompensating. Just like 2s aren't like doing things for people to get something out of it. That's not their conscious motivation. 6s aren't, counter type 6s aren't facing their fears head on because they're afraid. They are not thinking of it that way. I don't think that's not like a conscious thing. Like, I'm afraid, so I'm gonna just do this. Like, and
once again, that's the beauty of the Enneagram, is that you realize you do all these things unconsciously, and that's one of the things that counterphobic 6s might do.
If this is going too far, I think it can lead to like them being overly intimidating to people or be too aggressive if they're not in tune with that part of themselves. it can go too far into that because they feel like they have to maybe like defend a lot of things or intimidate to appear strong because they might think like fear is weak or whatever. So that's just something to watch out for a counter type. But counter type 6s can be really, they can get a lot done, I feel like, because of that. Like they're very action oriented, or they seem like very action oriented because of that. Like they, instead of avoiding something out of fear, they're just going to do it, which can be a great thing.
Yeah, I realize it's counterphobic or phobic. And any type that's not the counterphobic, the sexual 6 is phobic.
Yeah. So there's the two types, just like with Enneagram 4. There's the counter type. So yeah, but important to note because this doesn't apply to every 6. A lot of this is what we're saying. Parenting can be challenging because, well, we kind of already talked about that, but the information overload thing and maybe not trusting your own decisions about things and scanning for threats and danger. So parenting and motherhood can really challenge certainty and safety because, like we've talked about before, it's not a straight line. Parenting is not a straight line. And 6s like to feel certain about things because that makes them feel safe. They like to feel prepared for things. But as a parent, you can't be prepared for everything. That's just a fact. You're not going to be prepared. You're not going to know things. You're not going to be able to be like...
Something's going to come up that you're not going to know.
Yeah. And that's when the
trust... Or not be prepared for.
That's when the trust in yourself can come in handy. It's like, even though I don't know this right now, it doesn't mean I'm never going to know what to do about this. It's a learning experience. In stress, 6s go to the low side of a 3. So they start to get frantic in their productivity. They hyperfunction and they try to perform competence. So they might try to overcompensate by like being frantic and preparing and catastrophizing, that kind of thing. Doing things.
Yeah, they're trying to make things feel safe by doing that around them.
Because if you think about type 3, they're very like accomplishing things, but for a 6 going to the low side of 3, it's like they're trying to accomplish things and to do things to feel prepared and safe. Yeah. In growth, 6s go to the high side of a 9, which means they become more calm and grounded, trusting and accepting and less reactive. Like 9s are they can be in health, go with the flow type of people. So they might just go with the flow more and not take things so seriously or so much as a threat. And let's talk about some wings. So 6s can be 6-wing 5, the defender, or 6-wing 7, the buddy. That's cute. So 6-wing 5, 6 might appear more analytical or anxious. They might be more cautious or skeptical. And might be highly research oriented because, as you remember, 5s like to research things. So if you combine that with a 6.
And they're both head types.
Yes, they're going to be
very intellectual.
Whoa, hi Bean.
Bean has appeared.
Yeah, so they're going to be very like research out of the motivation of preparing, out of the motivation of fear. Not out of hoarding as much, probably. Ma'am. And 6-wing 7 is the buddy. They might appear more social or fun-seeking. They might still be anxious, but they mask it a little more. And they oscillate between worry and distraction. So they might be anxious one minute, but then like they cope with it maybe by distracting with something fun or doing something different. And the healing path of a 6, I think, is like we've been saying, learning to trust your own self. So if a decision comes up, what's the first thing you think of? Like what is your instinct and gut saying? Like I think 6s can really benefit from practicing what it feels like to listen to their body and their gut versus immediately going to somebody else and asking what they think or going to Google or ChatGPT to ask what they think.
It's okay to be uncertain sometimes. Accepting that as a 6.
I think that is part of the growth too, is to be more comfortable with discomfort and be more comfortable with not knowing. You not necessarily have to be comfortable with it, but like being okay with it. It doesn't require me to automatically find an answer or to figure it out. Like don't always have to be doing that.
Oh, we didn't talk about the vice and virtues of a 6.
Oh yeah, you do that.
The vice of a 6 is fear, and the virtue of a 6 is courage. That's pretty easy one.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Fear or anxiety is their, I don't know if I would say it's their coping mechanism. It's just like their default way to deal with things.
Yeah.
Or how they think they need to deal with it. That's how they think that it's going to be productive.
Mm-hmm.
So just continuously scanning the horizon of things that might happen and future events. So through growth work, you can loosen the grip of fear, which is vulnerable. I think every type, it's very vulnerable to do your growth work.
Yeah.
So for specifically for a type
goes
6,
against your instincts.
To not be fearful, that's really hard and vulnerable to just say, this might not work out and maybe there's nothing I can do. But practicing that can help you feel more peaceful and calm, and not to give all your power to what you said, looking outside themselves. Give all your power to the people that you trust to tell you what to do, and instead relying on your own feelings on some things can help you realize you can depend on your own authority, which gives you courage.
Yeah. And the virtue being courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It just means like you can still take action and like learn to trust yourself and still feel afraid.
Yeah,
like
just like the Cowardly Lion in the Wizard of Oz.
That's what I was thinking too. You say that, or does someone else say that?
I don't
Courage
remember.
doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means you're doing something anyway.
It means you're feeling fear and doing
it anyway.
Doing it anyway.
And some other interesting tidbits or things I've noticed personally about sixes or read about is I think that they can, because of that tendency, hard to trust themselves. That can show up in a lot of interesting ways, like a lot of different ways. It can show up like in their politics, like they might be overly trusting or overly not trusting of authority
sixes
figures.
usually do go one way or the other with authority figures. They don't trust them.
They have like
or
weird
they completely trust them.
Dynamics around authority figures.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe the part of the growth too, is to see like the gray areas in that you can trust. You don't have to like fully trust or fully not trust somebody. Especially authority figures and things like that. What are some other interesting ways that sixes show up in the world? I'm trying to think. I always think of sixes as being very elusive to me. Like they're kind of like the most abstract type for some reason to me. Like that it's hard to explain. Like I feel like with all the other types we were like coming up with all these examples. And, oh yeah, I've noticed that twos do this. I mean,
it's more of a to me sixes feel more of like an energy. Like I can't put words to it.
That is true.
I think that the Enneagram makes it sound like, oh, they're the anxious type. Mm-hmm. But that's not really what it is. It's like,
and I think that's
I don't know the words to describe. Because
when you're researching sixes too, like I feel like that's the challenge, is that that's the main identity of a six, and it's really not.
They're loyal and they're anxious.
Yeah, like there's obviously every type is so much more than their type, but like
I just feel I'm thinking about all. Sorry, continue.
I was just agreeing with you. Like every type is more than their type, yes, but it is more of a feeling you have around them than something you can really describe concretely.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about every six I know right now. They all have a similar vibe. Like I really feel looked after by sixes. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain that. It's like I feel almost like a child around them, but not in a bad way. It's kind of like
a comforting way.
Yeah, in a comforting way.
Yeah, that's true.
But my first therapist was a six, and I loved her. Aww. And when she told me she was a six, I was like, that makes sense. That's why I feel the way I do around you.
That is so interesting.
I feel very safe around sixes. I feel like they're gonna like protect me and fight for me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of, and that can be the trap I think they fall into too. It's like if you, especially with talking about matrescence and motherhood, is and the mental load, is they can easily fall into that because people feel like that around them. Like they can start feeling like maybe this is my role and my job, when maybe that's part of the work too. It's like to allow other people to do that for you. You can be taken care of too.
So speaking of that, what are some homework we can give sixes? Some work they can do.
Well, like I was saying, the trusting your decisions, seeing what the first thing is that comes up for you, and trusting that.
Yeah, like next time I think a lot of you feel anxious about something and want to run to your phone to text your best friend or get advice from someone, think about what you feel first. Yes. In your body, in your gut. What do you think you should do? Reflect on that, and then maybe text your best friend or whatever.
And I think a lot of 6s tend to like have that and then they think about it. They like doubt it.
Very in their head.
Take that first initial gut feeling and see what happens with that. Okay, that's the first thing I think of. Yeah, intuition, like really hearing your gut and your intuition, working on like what that feels like in your body. And to, like we were saying, just being okay with uncertainty sometimes. Being okay with not knowing or not totally preparing for something, like that's all right. Like you can do that because that's a strength, but it's not something you necessarily have to be doing 100% of the time.
Okay, and the question for 6s, what would life feel like if safety didn't require constant vigilance? Or if you're a parent, what would parenthood feel like if safety didn't require constant vigilance?
Something to think about, something to chew on.
Something to think about.
Okay, type 7.
Type 7 is the enthusiast. So their core motivation is to maintain freedom, possibility, joy, and stimulation. They hate feeling trapped. Their basic fear is being trapped, deprived, emotionally stuck, or consumed by pain. Their basic desire is to feel free, happy, fulfilled, satisfied. So some famous 7s. Let's look here. Just to give you a picture. Robin Williams, Steven Spielberg, Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears, the 14th Dalai Lama. What?
Jim Carrey,
Elton John, Mozart. So they're very playful. They like to have fun. They like to think about what's the next thing we're going to do. What are we going to do next? They're future oriented.
And the triad is they are in the
head. 5, 6, and 7 are all in the head. So they have a fear, anxiety triad. You know what's interesting is that 7s are one of the most anxious types on the Enneagram, which...
But you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Being around them, really.
You would not. They definitely hide their anxiety. And it's very, very vulnerable for them to show their feelings. And they have to be around people that they trust. Like with me, I don't care talking about my feelings with people that I don't really know. Like that's how I connect with people. But for 7s, it's very difficult to do that because they are not comfortable with negativity if they're unhealthy. Or not negativity, but bad feelings.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable feelings.
If they're not a healthy 7.
Yeah. So the vice of a 7 is gluttony. The virtue is sobriety. Not gluttony, not like eating too much, but just filling yourself up with experiences and stimulation. They like to be stimulated. They like to be doing stuff and
trying new things, going places.
They love trying new things. They're the type of people that I feel like love to travel and try new foods and get out there. And I think that they're doing this to avoid feelings or avoid feeling trapped.
Yeah. It can be.
It can be a way to do that.
And something that I always think about too, I think it's probably Ian Morgan Cron said this, that another really cool thing about the Enneagram, especially as a therapist, is you can kind of know like how to cater different approaches towards different people. So like I think for a 7, it's not always helpful to be like, let's talk about coping skills. Like how are we going to cope with this feeling, this bad feeling that comes up, or this like uncomfortable feeling? I think they need to feel their feelings more, or to like learn how to sit in them, and so that they can learn that it's not going to totally overtake them. Because I think that they have that fear sometimes too of like being flooded by a uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
That's their fear, basic fear of being consumed by pain. So I think that's a good practice for them, is to like know how to be in pain or to feel uncomfortable and to be present at the same time. Because they're very not present
like that.
people. They're
very future oriented.
Yeah, they're very future oriented.
Have a hard time living in the present.
And I think that can make it also hard for them to be present with how they're really feeling.
Yeah. So we talked about this with the heart types, but not the head types yet, is that each one of them reacts to, so 5, 6s, and 7s react to their fear in different ways. Type 5 reacts to their fear by withdrawing. Type 6 reacts by going like head first into it, especially counterphobic 6s. And that can look like going headfirst into it or just like overthinking and scanning for danger.
Mm-hmm.
They just try to like manage
over
it.
Preparing, over researching.
And 7s escape their fear. They try to detach from it by staying busy and staying positive. So that's interesting. So to move towards sobriety as their virtue is what you said, just being present in the current moment and allowing their emotions to happen and not trying to strive for more and more, and be okay with just a mundane day, which I think 4s also can benefit from, because 4s also
that you said that,
like novel experiences.
Because I was just thinking, I was like, didn't one of us like test as a 7 one time?
I did.
But yeah, I think it's because, like we were saying, the counter type 4 can look like 7s a lot of the time, because they also kind of like approach uncomfortable emotions in that way of like, we're gonna avoid.
That was the one of my many mistypes. But
it's journey.
I do understand that part of the 7s of just always wanting to do, like, focusing on the next thing.
Yeah.
And like, what are we gonna do next? That's fun. I don't want to just like do the same thing every day. And
yeah, like they can be on vacation planning their next vacation.
Yeah.
Like even when they're in the vacation, what's our next fun thing? What are we gonna do tomorrow? What are we gonna do for our next trip? We just got here. Let's enjoy the moment.
So when they are in growth towards being able to be more present, they can be less distracted and more able to be present and no longer chasing after things that they think are gonna fill themselves with, I don't know, joy.
That's interesting, because I feel like 5s are protecting that. I don't know how to word this. But 7s are always like trying to get it.
Protecting what?
I don't know how to explain it. Energy. And 7s are like looking outside to get more energy, like get more.
Like their outward focus.
Yeah.
Well, 5s are withdrawing and 7s are,
I don't know why that just popped in my head. But not important.
Escaping. Running.
Yeah. They're looking for something outside of themselves, like to feel that, that's the gluttony part. It's like, I need something else to like put in there to fulfill me, because their basic desire is to feel fulfilled and satisfied. And I think that it can feel like it's out there a lot of the time. So maybe that's part of the work of a 7 too, is like, how can that you are whole and fulfilled right now in this present moment, even if you're not going on an adventure or doing something.
Yeah. You know what I noticed about 7s though is that they're foodies. They like love to try new foods. They love like making different things and trying new things and drinks, and
that makes sense. I think they're sensory, like the senses,
they're
like
sensory seeking,
and they like in their environments, I think, are something they seek.
No, 7s are really fun to be around. They're often the life of the party. They're often hilarious. They like to have fun and they want to make sure everyone else is having fun. But I think that a lot of interviews I've listened to with 7s have the same struggle of doing it out of fear. And then if they are sad or if they don't feel like having fun, people are like, what's wrong with you? And they're like, can I just not be fun for a second?
Yeah, or they feel like they're doing something wrong if someone around them is not having fun. They like put it on themselves to be like, are you...
Can you just accept me for... Like they think that people are only accepting of them because they're fun.
Yeah, which is sad, because that can be healing for 7s, to be in a friendship or dynamic with somebody that sees them sad and that sees them like not in a happy mood, because I think they feel this burden to be that person a lot of the time.
Yes.
And
sometimes they need someone else to be that for them.
You need to learn both vulnerability and through other people showing you that people will accept you even when you're not a happy, fun person. And if they don't, then that's not a real friend. What is the 7 anxiety around? Is it like, I guess I'm speculating that it's around feeling empty, or feeling, because that's the opposite of gluttony, is emptiness.
I think that maybe, but this Reddit thread has got my mind spinning. I think part of it is that anxiety and doing stuff has a similar feeling. It's like
an adrenaline type feeling.
Almost. Yeah. So it's not for them, like the need to always do stuff is anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of gives you the same, like this feeling. Like, I need to do something. Let's go. Let's do something fun. I don't know.
So what is the...
It kind of reminds... Sorry. I need to stop cutting you off. I feel like I've done that.
I just cut you off, so I don't know. What is the thing they're running from, though? Is it like...
Feelings?
Is it not feeling anything? Is it because... Is it feeling a neutrality? Is it feeling bored? Is it... What's the anxiety around?
Quote, negative feelings, because as we always say, feelings are neutral, but the negative feelings, they feel very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
So their coping mechanism.
But anxiety would be considered an uncomfortable negative feeling. But if they're getting that feeling, I think what I'm saying is like, why do they have the need to feel that? Let's speculate. Even though it's like adrenaline and anxiety are the same in the body. Like you feel the same. Mm-hmm. I actually use that with my clients a lot that are anxious. It's like you can turn that into an excitement feeling. Like you can.
Yes, that's what I was cutting you off to say earlier.
Oh,
so glad you brought that up.
So like maybe they just like, I don't know what I'm trying to say or ask. They're uncomfortable feelings. They're getting out of that. Maybe they'd rather feel.
I'm like reading all these. There's a whole thread right now on Reddit that I'm reading on my screen. All these sevens speculating why they're so anxious. It's actually really insightful because it's like actual sevens.
Yeah.
And
what are they
being
saying?
like introspective about it. But someone says seeking cool new fun things is so that you don't feel anxious about the future. It like keeps the future positive.
Oh.
So maybe part of it is that they're just afraid of the unknown too. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Do you think that sevens also... Sorry, you can say more about the Reddit post.
No, that's okay. I'm just... There's a lot.
I wonder if that translates to their living environment and their jobs and like the day-to-day things too, because if you're always thinking about the next best thing, I wonder if that transfers to also feeling like the grass is greener or like there could be something better out there for me. So maybe I wonder if like sevens move a lot or if they switch jobs a lot or because they like to experience new things, first of all.
Yeah.
And maybe they just have this challenge of not, it's hard to just be in the present, think about what else is out there.
Yeah.
But that was interesting because maybe it's part of that too. The fear about the future and having things.
Because they are future oriented, which means they're probably thinking about, oh, I don't want the future to look scary. I don't want the future to look boring. We got to do something about that. We got to plan a trip. Let's move on to their strengths in particular as a parent. They're very playful and imaginative. They bring joy and adventure into parenting. They are optimistic and resilient. They encourage curiosity and exploration. They create fun memories and spontaneity. And they help children experience wonder. I love that. They just allow so much. Sevens are little kids at heart. They just like to have fun. And I think it's easy for sevens to get along with kids. Because kids love playing around and being imaginative, and so do sevens.
Yeah.
They are very spontaneous. I think that would be fun for kids to have a spontaneous parent to just be like, you want to go to, let's skip school today. Let's go to the beach or something.
Yeah.
So I think that sevens are probably very good at connecting with their kids because kids connect through play and experiences. Some challenges as a parent that sevens may fall into: difficulty tolerating monotony. So like, hey, let's skip school today and go to the beach. If you do that every day, Mom, I have a test. I need to go to school. Avoiding painful emotions. So if a kid wants to talk to you about or needs to talk to you about their painful emotions, they're a lot of the times might not bring it up because they don't know how to do that yet. The sevens have to initiate that, and that might be hard for them.
Are you talking about if the parent's a seven or if the kid's a seven?
The parent's a seven. Like, I don't know. I'm talking about a young kid. They don't know they don't know that they're feeling.
Yeah. And they could also
upset.
Learn to not talk about that, because if I could see how a seven might avoid that. So that they just kind of learn like, oh, we don't.
Yeah.
we don't want to talk about those feelings.
Yeah, because maybe subconsciously a 7 might dismiss their kids if they do start to express feelings.
Yeah, if they start feeling uncomfortable in it. Like, obviously, if you think about a parent and a kid, like, you want to protect them. So it might be extra uncomfortable for a parent of a kid, a 7 parent, to know that their kid is sad, or to know that it might be very hard to just sit with that with them.
Another challenge area, they might become overstimulated easily, which happens as a parent. But 7s might become overstimulated quicker. Difficulty slowing down or being present. They might fall into escapism or distractions. They might feel restless or struggle with repetitive demands of parenting. A lot of parenting is just clean dishes. That might be hard for you. Gotta do dishes like at least twice a day if you don't want to feel overwhelmed, and that's hard. That is hard. Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
So being a parent can activate feeling claustrophobic for 7s because of that. And also you kind of have to do those monotonous things because someone else is depending on you. That might feel like a struggle. They might start feeling that trapped feeling. They have restriction and loss. They lose spontaneity and might have an emotional heaviness of being a parent because it can be very emotionally heavy. But they bring joy, imagination, and playfulness into parenting, which is such a good skill. And it is a skill, I feel like, in a talent that 7s have. Like I said, being a parent threatens their freedom and possibility. I would imagine that postpartum might feel very difficult for 7s, like freshly postpartum parents, because you can't really do anything yet. It's kind of constricting.
Trigger their trapped feeling that they hate. They avoid feeling trapped. They want to feel like
that is the
they
worst
have
feeling
option.
for a 7 is feeling
They want to
trapped.
feel like they have the options to be free and be spontaneous, and that's very far in between as a freshly postpartum parent.
So in stress, they go to the low side of type 1, which means they might become very rigid in their thinking and doing, critical, irritable, and controlling, and overwhelmed by responsibility. In growth, they go to the high side of type 5, which we just talked about. So they become very reflective, grounded, emotionally present, and deeper. Now that I'm reading the growth to a 5, I think a lot of the 7s I know are very intellectual. Yeah. They love to learn new things, and I think they're very smart.
Yes, that's a very common misunderstanding of 7, is that they just like to do fun things and they're fun, but they are very deep intellectual people.
Yeah, they have very deep feelings. They have very very smart. They're very smart.
Yeah.
I do not feel smart trying to explain that right now.
They smart.
They smart. They have different interests. I think a lot of 7s have a specific interest that may switch a lot. They say fun facts about stuff. Let's talk about the wings of a 7. There's the 7-wing 6, which is the entertainer, and 7-wing 8 is the realist. So a 7-wing 6 is playful but more anxious than a 7-wing 8. They're more reassurance seeking, and they are more relational. The 7-wing 8 is more assertive, freedom loving. They have more of an intense personality, and they are resistant to dependence.
Yeah, they might be hyper independent, maybe.
Yeah. Healing paths for a 7. Presence matters more than escape. Sitting in the moment, sitting in your feelings. Difficult emotions are survivable. Something to remember. It's not going to derail you in the way that you are catastrophizing it in your head. It's okay. It is. You will survive.
Emotions never hurt you. Only actions can hurt you. Emotions can never hurt you. So that's a good reminder for 7s too. You might be overwhelmed by an emotion, but they pass. They're just like waves coming and going.
Yeah. And people love to learn about you. They want to know more about how the depth of you. And if they just expect you to be happy and joyful all the time and don't expect you to share your depth and your feelings, then they are not the person for you to be around, because you need to share those things. It's healthy for you, and it's good for you to be around people you feel safe to do that with. So homework for a 7.
Sitting, pick an uncomfortable emotion that starts to arise and see if you can just pretend like it's a wave going.
Next time you notice an uncomfortable feeling, just notice it and notice what you do. You don't even have to, maybe sit with it if you feel that you are ready to do that, but I think just notice it and then notice what you do with that. What's your reaction to it? And then once you notice that, maybe you could start taking steps to just sit with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another action step is to, I guess similar to a 4, is to you can romanticize your everyday, ordinary life. It's not always something out there that you're trying to grasp. What is happening right now?
Yeah, what's in your fridge that you can just experiment and make?
Yeah. What's in your
pantry?
Or what's magical about this moment right now? What can you embrace about right now that's happening? See if you can redirect your brain from constant future to, I can enjoy this moment too and be excited about the future.
Let's go to type 8.
Wait, the reflection question.
Oh, reflection question. I did that last time. What feelings are waiting underneath the constant movement? What feelings are waiting under there?
Kind of what you're saying. It's when you notice uncomfortable feeling, what do you do with you?
What is that feeling and what do you do with it?
What's actually happening that's maybe driving you to avoid or to think about fun, exciting things you have planned? What's underneath that? Type 8. I'll be honest that I know the least about 8s. Well, this is my lowest. Every single time I test the Enneagram, this is always my lowest. So I'm intrigued by 8s. I'm very intrigued by
8s. I'm how do you do that?
Because it's so different than me, but that also makes it hard for me to understand them, I think. So I'm going to try my best. But I really encourage you, if you're an 8 or you know an 8, or to do more research on this, because obviously do this for every type, but research on your own. Don't take every single thing we're saying to heart. But I'm just saying that because I don't know a lot about. I feel like 8 is
that's why we researched it and made the notes.
A lot of this we're not just reading; we're talking about it too.
True.
Okay, so 8, core motivation of an 8 is to protect themselves and maintain strength and control. The basic fear of an 8 is being controlled, powerless, weak, betrayed, or vulnerable. And their basic desire is to protect themselves and remain independent and strong.
It's famous 8s. A lot of political leaders: Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, Kamala Harris, Serena Williams, an athlete, Aretha Franklin, Pink, Clint Eastwood. Lots of powerful figures. Gordon Ramsay, Queen Latifah. Look at that.
Yes, I always think of 8s too as very justice-oriented.
Yes.
We're kind of talking about the ones, but 8s are also very much like that. They're very they stand up for the little guy.
Yeah, they're very protective.
They have a lot of protective energy around
people who vulnerable people.
Yeah, people who can't protect themselves, and just feel very strongly about that. So you can clearly see that the strengths as a parent, they're going to be protective of their kids. They're going to, that probably will make them feel very safe. And they're very courageous. They're direct. They'll do things they need to do. They advocate very strongly for their kids. They're very dependable in a crisis. They might teach and encourage confidence and resilience in their children. And they're deeply loyal and loving beneath the intensity. I also picture 8s as this, all of this assertiveness and courageousness and dependableness is from a core of intense love. Yeah. And very strong. They're kind of the stereotype of a teddy bear, I guess. They look so intimidating and strong, but they're if you really get to know them and deep down inside, they're very soft and loving and very warm. Mm-hmm. But all those things are because of that. All of their loyalty and intensity. That's how I perceive 8s and how I've learned about them.
So not all of the interviews, I think most of the interviews I've listened to with type 8s, they've had very rough childhoods. And they've learned to they can't be vulnerable at all because their vulnerability will be taken advantage of. So they just put on this tough exterior, and then they kind of like blend into that mask. Like they become very, excuse me, Bean is typing on my keyboard.
So we're just stretching.
They just depend on their toughness to get them through, and then it just kind of becomes
That's really funny because I just had a revelation that Bean is an 8.
Oh, she's definitely,
she is like the most 8 cat.
Because she just ran away. She's like, don't you talk about me like this. I don't want to be vulnerable.
She's like the most feisty and aggressive cat I've known, but she's also like the most aggressively
cuddly.
Like she is so affectionate when she's like trusts you. Like
let's type
all
her
over
pets.
you. I love that. Anyway, there's a great example of an 8 in my own house.
Yes. But yeah, they learn to just they have to be tough growing up. So that was their coping mechanism as being, which is why I think they're so, because they felt so vulnerable when they were little. I think that's why they feel so protective of people that can't stand up for themselves, or as they perceive can't stand up for themselves, because that's how they felt. So they want to protect those people. They're like, now I can do this for someone else.
Yeah. So their challenge areas, just in life and as a parent, might be that they can be very intense. Their anger can get intense. They might have struggles with control, difficulty with vulnerability. They might get emotionally defensive. They can be impatient when they're overwhelmed. They can be harsh when they're dysregulated. And they might have a hard time softening up enough to accept support. And it might be hard to let other people support them. And I think part of that is the control thing. Like they just feel like if they're not in control, they feel very vulnerable or very exposed. That other people might be able to control them, which is not always true.
Yeah, 8s do not want to be controlled. The vice of an 8 is lust, and the virtue is innocence. So lust in this instant means excess. So they have this constant desire for intensity and control and power because they don't want to feel controlled. Mm-hmm. And that causes them to push themselves on to other people and onto experiences in order to get what they want, which can feel very intense to other people, but they don't realize that. That's like one of their unconscious patterns, is that they just like overpower other people. They're not thinking that they're doing that, but that can be very intimidating to people. Mm-hmm. So through growth work, they can loosen their grip and move towards innocence, which causes them to be more trusting of other people. And if they find a way to be vulnerable, which is very difficult for any type, but especially for 8s, they have less of a gut instinct of judgment or expectation, and they're able to listen, they're able to sit with other people and respond to them as a more open person instead of trying to control their responses or overpowering somebody.
Yeah, and 8s, sorry, this is not on your topic at all, I don't think, but
it's okay.
I think it's very interesting what you said about how 8s grew up with a rough childhood, because it makes a lot of sense why it would be hard to let down that guard of control. Like if you feel like you can't trust the people around you to take care of you, then of course you're going to be more protective and want to be the one in control of things and, whatever.
Because things felt very out of control for most of 8s.
And a lot of 8s felt like they need to grow up early, take on like the responsibilities. And so that's part of the growth for an 8, I think, is to like allow people to care for you and to have like that softness with the person that you're trusting, that you trust.
Accept people's help and love. Accept the love.
Yes. And something else that comes up when I listen to like 8 interviews and whatnot is, I don't think that they would call it arguing, but they enjoy a debate. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could remember what I was saying in the last episode that I was watching a interview with moms, and one of them was an 8, or maybe it was somewhere else. I don't know. But they're talking about how that was a misconception. The 8s like to argue. It's not really about the arguing. Mm-hmm. It's like, I forgot exactly what she said, so I don't know why I'm bringing it up, but I'm just saying that to say that
that's a stereotype,
that could be a stereotype. That 8s like to fight and argue.
They like to be in control. So maybe That's part of it.
Yeah, but I also think it's a way they like connect with people. I don't know. Like it's more maybe about like them debating than like trying to fight their point on something. But I wish I could remember that. Eights can kind of see arguing, I don't know if they would even call that, or debating or whatever, as a direct way to solve problems or to test the strength of relationships. Like if they see that someone else can take their intensity, then they might feel safer with that person in a way. That's my theory. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think they just like argue to argue or debate to debate. They just, it's almost like, this sounds like a negative way, but like testing a relationship, like testing the trust in somebody.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like they like to see that people can like stand up for themselves, which is why 8 is my the opposite of what I am not like that. In fact, arguing scares me to death.
In fact, I actively avoid it at all costs.
I actively fight, flight, or flee. I flee away. I'm running.
I'm fleeing.
Oh, wait. Fight, flight, or freeze. Not flee. Fight or
and fawn now is also
fawn.
an addition.
I'm freezing.
We're going to have
fleeing.
like 10 F words. Fight, flight, free, fawn, flip, 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 flip.
No, I'm thinking of something else that could be a reaction that I shouldn't say in this podcast. All kinds of F words. So, what motherhood or parenting can activate for an 8 is that can really intensify their protectiveness, their instinct to protect, but also their tenderness deepens. Like it brings out that tender side that maybe is easy to hide or protect. It can really expand that, and their fear might increase as well because they are so protective and they want their kids to be safe. That might cause some fear around things, around parenting and everything. And what it threatens for an 8, motherhood threatens independence and emotional defenses. Parenting is an emotional thing. Being a parent, it can bring up a lot of feelings. And if 8s feel like that's a vulnerable thing, or if they feel like that's weak, which I think unhealthy 8s might see vulnerability as something that's weak, then that can be very difficult for them to work with those emotions instead of try to defend against them or protect feeling certain difficult emotions. So in stress, a type 8 will go to the low side of a 5. So they might withdraw or detach emotionally or isolate themselves. They might feel not trusting of other people. And they'll become maybe like hyper independent, like I can handle this myself, I don't need help kind of thing. In growth, they'll go to a high side of a type 2. They become more nurturing, emotionally available, generous, and softer, but without losing their assertive strength that they have. And the 2 wings that you can have as an 8 is an A-wing 7, the Maverick, or A-wing 9, the Bear. Oh, I just said that. They're kind of like big bears.
Yeah.
So A-wing 7 might appear more loud and energetic, more adventurous, impulsive, and intense. 8-wing 9 might feel more grounded and appear more calm, like have a calm type of strength. They might appear more protective. They have kind of like a mama bear energy, where they're very warm, but also very like protective at the same time. And the healing path for an 8 is to learn that being soft or vulnerable is not weak. That it actually is something that helps other people feel connected to you and helps you feel connected to other people, which we were just talking about with 7s.
Yeah.
That is
and 5s.
And 5s. A lot of types. But that is a very healthy place to go for an 8, is to learn to soften into people that you trust. Learn that vulnerability builds connection, and that asking for help is a strength. That it's okay to ask for help. And if you're thinking about this in the context of parenting, I guess it kind of goes back to what we've talked about before, is like the mental load and resentment. Like if you're having a hard time asking for help, then you're just going to feel angry and resentful. So that's a good practice for an 8, is that it's okay to need help sometimes, that you're not really always going to be able to do every single thing yourself and control every single thing yourself. So what are some action steps an 8 can have? What's some homework we can give an 8?
I think when you are in a conversation with somebody, or maybe even someone is talking about their feelings with you, to be really present and really kind of sit with that person, and maybe even tell them something vulnerable about yourself, because that is how people feel safe in relationships, is when someone is vulnerable with you. It kind of like unlocks a level of relationships.
Next level unlocked.
Yeah. So yes. I know that it's hard for anyone to do, but 8s especially have a hard time being vulnerable. So I think even just sitting with someone and noticing what you're feeling when someone's sharing something with you, or even just having a normal conversation and just notice how you're reacting to what they're saying, could be very insightful.
Yeah, and what that does also is teach you in general and teach your brain that not every person is going to hurt you. Not everyone's a threat.
Yeah, that can start healing you.
That can be very healing for an 8 to be in dynamics that feel like you can be vulnerable and then nothing bad happens.
Yep.
Especially if you grew up in a very difficult childhood and that did happen and it wasn't safe for you to be vulnerable. You need to relearn that it is safe and actually helpful and positive to be vulnerable.
Yeah. So the reflection question for an 8, what if tenderness is not the opposite of strength, but part of it?
I love that.
Let's think about that.
Because I do think, I can see how 8s would very much separate those things.
Yep.
That strength is being this strong, assertive person, which that is part of strength, and it's also being tender and vulnerable.
You can be both things. You can be a strong, assertive person, but also, which you are. 8s definitely have both things, but they have a harder time expressing the tender side of them.
Yeah, I think that healthy 8s are actually the best at doing that. Like being someone that's like very tender, but also strong and capable. I think that's why I admire 8s so much, because it's just like they have these two sides that are so strong. They're so strong with their values and their protectiveness, but they're also so strong in loving people and protecting people and being standing up for people. I just really admire that. I think 8s are awesome, and I wish that I could channel 8s. I could channel 8s.
Everyone has all the types.
I know, but 8's really
deeper down
tiny.
In there, but you can pull it out.
Speck.
I feel that too. I do definitely admire 8s.
Yeah.
They're also an anomaly to me. So that's why I think that before I knew the Enneagram, I would have been like, what is this? I would have been so confused about a person that's an 8. But I think that it really helps me understand them.
Yeah, which is why the Enneagram is amazing.
It is amazing. And it helps you see everyone's different perspectives. 8s don't think that they're being mean when they're arguing, or not arguing, but being assertive about something. But other types, like a sensitive law 4 like me, might be like, that person hates me, when really they're just doing that because that's how they connect, or they just want to share their passion with you or whatever.
Exactly.
So that's what's so good about the Enneagram, is it really helps you understand people that you feel like you don't really understand, or why does this person do this all the time? And
it can help you not. I think naturally that is what happens in our human brain, is we go to ourself. What did I do wrong? Yeah. Why are they treating me like this? But when you learn about somebody, which is what I say to my clients a lot. What's the phrase I use? Understanding leads to empathy. The more that you know about somebody and their intentions and their background and their vulnerability, and the more you can understand why they do certain things, which helps you take things less personally and helps the relationship. So anyway, I think that's another point of why the Enneagram is great. And we'll stop fawning over the Enneagram and go to type 9.
Flight, fright, freeze.
Fright is the next one. Flight, fright, freeze, fawn.
Okay. Type 9, the peacemaker, is the last type here. Thanks for sticking through. We forgot to talk about the triad, the gut triad, because 8 starts the gut triad, or 1 is also in it, but 8, 9, and 1 are the gut triad, and their instinctive center is anger and rage. So 8 expresses anger directly to control their environment. Type 9, they deny or repress their anger, and type 1 represses it and sees it as bad. So type 9 kind of avoids it. Type 1... So I guess type 9 and type 1 both kind of avoid it or repress it?
Okay, so
there is
one...
withdraw.
Here's a good... I found this on Reddit. 1 has internalized anger, so they say, I am the reason I'm angry. They blame themselves. 9 have suppressed anger, so they say, I'm not angry. They don't think they're angry because it's suppressed. And 8s have externalized anger. The people around me are the reason I'm angry.
Can you do 1? What was 1 again?
I'm the reason I'm angry.
Oh,
they have
okay.
internalized anger.
I see.
With the externalized types, they feel the source of that emotion exists outside of them. With suppressed types, their core emotion feels contrary to the person they want to be. So 9s might be like, I'm not an angry person, but because they're suppressing anger, it's there. They just are suppressing it. And internalized think they're the reason for that core emotion.
Okay, interesting. All right, so some famous 9s: Barack Obama, Morgan Freeman, Audrey Hepburn, Ariana Grande, Ringo Starr, Walt Disney,
Aw.
Marie Kondo, Lionel Messi.
Oh.
So 9's core motivation is to maintain peace, harmony, and connection. Their basic fear is conflict, disconnection, loss, separation, or being overlooked. Their basic desire is to feel inner stability, peace, and harmony. So a 9 vice is sloth, and their virtue is right action. Let me explain this.
Please do.
Sloth means not just laziness, but because a lot of 9s are very accomplished and active. It's more about their desire to be unaffected by life. So they kind of they're kind of apathetic.
Yeah.
When they're unhealthy, it's kind of an unwillingness to be fully present and to show up and engage. They feel that by being unaffected by other people and by life and even their own desires, that they're going to be peaceful and that they're going to keep the peace in their environment. But through growth work, they can move towards right action, which means engagement, which causes them to be more aware of their own self and their own desires, because a lot of 9s are asleep to their own needs and desires. They don't even know what they want or need. But through their work, they can figure that out and form opinions and beliefs and become more committed to engaging with other people and figuring out what other people need, but also themselves. Okay, so you said your second highest was a 9.
Yes.
You can give us all the insights. And my husband is a 9. And we've been together for 20 years, since high school. So I know 9s.
You know.
I feel like I also had a lot of 9 friends in college, and just
yeah.
9s are so... I just think of them as they're very level-headed, peaceful, very good at seeing both sides of things. That is a strength. So their strengths as parents in particular, they're very patient, accepting. They have a calming presence. They're emotionally steady. They're compassionate, non-judgmental. They create emotional safety and very comforting to their children. I think that also seeing both sides of things is a strength, but also it can be a challenge because then people are like, okay, well, what about me? You're not siding with me.
This is something I learned very late on in my life.
I have
that's not a good thing all the time to be very not taking sides, because people want to feel protected and they want to feel like you're on their side. And if you're like,
but the thing about the Enneagram,
I don't have
that's not how you're thinking.
Yeah, it makes people feel like you're not really for them. If you're not for them, you're not for anyone. If you're not for anyone, if you're not for someone, you're not for anyone.
Yeah,
that's.
But this is why. Sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's why the Enneagram's great, because I feel like that's what helps me stay connected to people. But other people feel like that's disconnecting for them. So that's something I really have to work on and learn, is that sometimes people just want you to be on their side and to feel like they're stood up for and things. So
yeah,
I think that can be a challenge for 9s.
I also have a lot of 9 in me, and I feel this so much of just seeing all sides to everything is a struggle for me. But I think that's what makes 9s really good therapists, which you are, because you can kind of play devil's advocate sometimes and just be like, well, let's look at this way of looking at things. Mm-hmm. And also really good leaders. I think that 9s make great leaders because they see everyone's perspective. They can give like really good insights. They're very calm. Like people trust them. Mm-hmm. They just have a very calming presence. Some pitfalls and challenge areas for 9s. They often self-neglect. They avoid conflict. They numb out when they become overwhelmed. They have difficulty identifying their own needs and desires. They sometimes become passive-aggressive or hold resentment. They disappear into caregiving as a parent, and they stay quiet to keep the peace, even when something matters deeply to them.
Yeah, I could see how a challenge for 9 parent would be kind of like similar to a 2, where because 9 struggle with enmeshment with like people and situations. So I feel like they might become like, this is my identity, and then they kind of lose who they really are because they're kind of disconnected from maybe who they really are, especially if they're like, if they become a parent, it might be easier for them to do that. Mm-hmm. That becomes their identity instead of like, you're a whole person with other things too.
Like, go do some of your hobbies. What do you want to do? I remember when we were in marriage counseling, pre-marriage counseling, mm-hmm. and we were talking about the Enneagram and how we were talking about what are your favorite things to Jacob. Mm-hmm. And it was very helpful for me because I feel like he didn't really know what he liked. So we were like writing it down. Like, what's your favorite food? What are your favorite movies? I still have that note on my phone from like 2013. Just like, cute. What are Jacob's favorite movies and foods? And
yeah, because
it's good for 9s to do that and to just write down, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies?
Hard time with that, like really knowing what they like or because they are they can become disconnected from themselves.
Yeah. So as a parent, that can really activate what you said. They kind of disappear and they merge into either like their spouse's needs or their kids' needs, and they kind of forget themselves. Mm-hmm. And they avoid conflict. They lose touch with their own desires. Mm-hmm. So that threatens their connection to themselves, becoming a parent.
Yeah.
In stress, they go to type 6, the low side of type 6. They become anxious, fearful, indecisive, overthinking, and internally panicked. In growth, they go to the high side of type 3. They become energized, purposeful, engaged, and connected to their own desires and goals.
Interesting, because type 3 is very achieving, and type 9s are notoriously like, they can fall in, like sloth is their vice. So they can be very good at achieving things when they're healthy, as you can see. It's just,
I heard this theory that there is a type that each type was when they were a child, or like mirrored, not was, because you don't really form into your type, I don't think, until you're
like 20s.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can have speculations, but then something happens or you grow up and then you have to adapt and then you change to like what your type is now. And I think for 4s, it was a 1.
Oh, I heard this too, because it was what you go to in growth.
That's why I'm thinking about this, because it says in growth, you're type 3. And so 9s when they were little might be very achieving, and that's how they want to feel loved and approved of, is that they just achieve stuff, and then their teachers and parents are like, wow, great job, you did so much. Mm-hmm. And but then they turn in type 9 if they feel maybe that's not enough, or they kind of feel forgotten or overlooked. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it's just an interesting theory.
That is an interesting theory. I think I remember hearing that too, that you kind of like embody your in growth type, and then as you get older you
kind of adapt, and that's how you adapt to the world, is what the type is you are now, as we say, your coping mechanisms.
Intriguing.
So, the wings of a 9 wing 8 is the referee, and 9 wing 1 is the dreamer. 9 wing 8 are protective, grounded, stubborn, and quietly strong. 9-wing 1, the dreamer, are more gentle, idealistic, conflict avoidant, and they have a good parent pressure, good mom pressure to be like the best mom. Not the best, but just like a good mom. And they feel that pressure more.
Yeah.
Healing and growth. Just remember, your voice matters. Your opinions matter. Practice voicing your opinions. When someone asks you where you want to go eat, just say where you want to go eat. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not like, I don't know if I really want to go there. Just pick something just to practice. How does that feel? Conflict does not equal abandonment. And you are allowed to take up space. You can be you and still be accepted. There's this really cute book. I wonder, okay, this is really off topic, but it's called Buffalo Fluffalo. Did you read that? Have you read that with Romy?
I don't think so.
It's this buffalo it's all poofy, and he's like, I'm Buffalo Fluffalo. It reminds me of a type 8, maybe. I don't know. It has a lot of silly rhymes, and all the animals are trying to be friends. He's like, I'm too busy. And he puts on this exterior mask, and they end it rains, and he's like really small because he's so poofy. And then everyone is just like, we don't care that you're small. We love you. And he just starts crying.
Oh, that's really
And I think that reminds me of an 8, but I feel like that's just with the Enneagram. It's like we put on this mask of...
And a lot of it's from protecting us from...
We're protecting ourselves in different ways.
Yeah.
That one was protecting himself by being like rough and being too busy for everyone.
That's really
But then the rain exposes us. It is a really cute book.
Why am I going to cry thinking about that?
It actually is very emotional to me at the end. He's just like smiling and his tears coming down his eyes, and all his friends are like, that's okay. We love you just the way you are. And he's just
cute. That's cute. Yeah, because I feel like for 9s, they do a lot of their numbing and like disconnecting and like avoidance of conflict, whatever, is because they feel like all of those things threaten connection with people. So if they can just be very even-tempered and very chill about things, then they're not threatening anything, or there's no like risk in people getting mad about it or like leaving them, or that's their way of maintaining our connection. Versus like, I want to go to this Mexican place. This is a really dumb example, but that is a notorious, like, that is a stereotypical notorious thing about 9s. It's like, they're just like, I don't care, whatever you want to do, that kind of thing. And learning that you speaking your opinions is not, and someone disagreeing with you is not unless if you're with someone that's healthy and you're in a healthy dynamic, that's not a threat to the relationship. In fact, I think that I've realized a lot of people who are with 9s want 9s to be more like, there's sometimes they're like, I want to argue with you. Like, I
can vouch for that. Yeah.
Like, just be mad about something, or because that's how you like
get mad at me.
like, you feel like they're a person when you do that. Like, you don't feel like you're just with nobody wants to be with someone with no opinions, or somebody that has,
and that also makes
some people might
some people that also makes the person that a 9 is with or conversing with feel maybe they're not telling you something. Like, are you hiding something? Like, why are you not getting upset? Or when maybe they're not. Maybe they just don't know how they're feeling.
Exactly. I think that's another thing. It's like, it's not always a conscious thing. Like, I think a lot of times they genuinely don't know what they think or how they feel about something. And I think the unconscious reason that they don't know that is because they don't want a disconnection or a conflict in the relationship. I don't think they're doing it because they think it's going to cause a conflict. I think that's just the unconscious part of them.
Yeah. And like any type, there's pros and cons to their skill set, I guess. They're the things that come naturally to them. And for 9s, that is just making other people feel comfortable and peaceful, which is a good thing. But sometimes to the extent that they overlook their own desires. Mm-hmm. So that's something to be aware of if you're a 9, is make sure you voice your own opinions, especially if it feels important to you. It's like not healthy if you feel something is important, but you don't voice it.
Yeah. That's the part of the work for a 9. So what is a 9 homework? 9 action steps.
Action steps for a 9.
Voicing an opinion on something to somebody.
Voice an opinion on something.
assertively.
And maybe make a list of all your favorite things.
Yeah.
What do you like to do for fun? What are your favorite types of movies and your favorite songs or types of music? And connect to that part of yourself.
I love that. And saying no to things sometimes.
Yeah, I was just going to say hard. Voice something to someone when you don't feel.
9s think about what other people might want. More so because not like 2s do it because I guess 2s and 9s can look similar in that way, that they're like thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
But 9s do it to keep the peace. They do it for a different motivation. Like they do it because they want. So say no to something and see, like if you don't want to do something, say no and see how that person responds. You might be surprised that they'll be like, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. The reflection question for 9s is, what parts of yourself went quiet in order to keep the peace? What parts of yourself are you hiding, or do you feel that you can't share because you're afraid that it might break a connection? Think about that.
I like that question. Not a good one.
All right, this episode has gone long.
Oh my gosh. But
there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
So
quite a lot.
Let's wrap up with some thoughts. What Enneagram types do you think are most rewarded in modern motherhood culture?
Enneagram 2.
Yeah.
In fact, I think a lot of moms mistype as 2s. And I think a lot of people mistype as 2s, especially women, because that's who they think they are.
This is interesting because when we took the Enneagram in college, in our college ministry, more than half the room scored 2. Like I remember we separated into sections.
In the church.
Yeah, it was in the church too. And a lot of people were answering how they were like, oh, I like helping people, I like doing this. And I remember scoring as a 2 and just feeling really conflicted about it as I researched the Enneagram. And I was like, I don't know if I like helping people. Like I feel terrible saying that, but I'm like, I don't know. This doesn't feel authentic. Like I don't
like what you should be doing and what you.
But it was really interesting that so many people scored that, and I wish, because they separated us into the Enneagram types. There was like 2 7s and like a few 1s, and there's so many 2s, and I think about that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's so telling, representative in telling, because I think a lot of people I've known that I force all my friends to take this, but I feel like that's always like one of the first ones people test as, and then as they read about it and like learn about it, they're like, oh, maybe
so
not.
Interesting. But what do you think?
That's our culture.
Which types do you think become invisible more as moms?
What is that? What do you mean by that? What becomes
like they're
invisible?
not really represented in our culture, or might feel like they don't really,
like the opposite of a 2.
I don't know. Whatever you think. I don't know. Just a question.
I mean, when you said invisible, I immediately thought of 9s because they were like, oh, I gotta blend in. But in terms of like what we might not expect as a mom, or like we don't really see
I guess
it was like
what you don't really expect as a mom.
Probably an 8.
8s are also, for women, I think being a male 2 and being a woman 8 is difficult. Because those are kind of like stereotypical, like a masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
It's not, but that's just kind of how they're seen. So I think it's difficult for, that might be a good one. I also think of 5s because they're because moms are expected to kind of be there all the time and give up a part of their identity. And that's really hard for 5s to do because they are very independent. I listened to a very good interview on typology with an Enneagram 5 mom right when I had Romy, and it was so good. I think I saved it because it was like really good.
What do you remember about it? Like what stands out to you?
Because she was just like, I value my work. I didn't want to just be a mom. I want to like still have my independence, and it was just good to hear that, because you don't really hear a lot of.
That's true. Moms are really expected to kind of just like, that's your life now.
They're kind of expected
you don't
to
have any other things that you're doing except being a parent.
Yeah. I need to find that episode so we can put it in the show notes. So I'll find it. Which coping mechanisms worked before motherhood but stopped working after becoming a parent?
I think that every type has one of them. Has some type of, that's the whole thing we were talking about with the Enneagram. You have these coping mechanisms, and then when you become a parent, you're like, well, when any big thing happens, but because we're talking about parenting, then it really challenges a lot of like how you used to do things.
Yeah.
Like for a 8, if you used to do things by really being assertive and pushing, but then your kids are pushing back, you might have to learn how to be like, how can I leave more room for them to have their opinions, or for them to, like, there's something like that for every type, which is interesting to look into for your type. Like, what patterns do you feel like you've really had to work on?
Yeah.
Or ways of coping with things you think you'd have to work on that have changed. And I'm sure some don't change, but
yeah, some of them might help you in parenthood.
Some of them might, and that might be another question. Like, what patterns and things have been really helpful for you, or what traits of your type have been like actually super beneficial for being a parent. That's another thing to reflect on.
Oh, that was a good discussion, but I feel like so drained. My brain feels so drained. Just talking
that was a lot. 2 full episodes of however long. These were the longest episodes we've had so far, I think.
But I love it. I love talking about Enneagram.
Yeah, I'll put the test that I like to use, I'll put in the description. There's a lot of tests out there, but I encourage you, like I said at the beginning of the first part, to take the test, but take it with a grain of salt and research like your top 3. And even if those don't resonate, research more of them. Because I think it's really more of a journey than a test situation. Like it's more of like what we were saying, like we've tested as many different types, but there's one that
you read and it's kind of
that
like
just hits
different, man.
And I think it depends on the stage of life you're in too. Think about, this is what Ian Morgencron says, like how you were in your early 20s. That's a good baseline to go off of for Enneagram, because that's when a lot of those things come up the most, a lot of those patterns and all that stuff. So, okay. And let us know in the comments if you want what your type is, because I want to know everybody's type.
Yes, let's discuss our types. We have a Substack that you can join, and we post a monthly newsletter and weekly articles to go along with our podcast episodes, and we have a little worksheets and stuff for you if you want to join the membership there. And
we have Etsy with shirts and hats, and also worksheets and workbooks and stuff like that. So check that out, and check out our socials: Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And thank you so much for listening. We're so happy you're joining us to learn about matrescence and all the things that go along with that. So we'll see you next week.
See you next Friday. Bye.